But let me tell you something bold, and I need you to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. No one is coming to save you. Not the government, not your job, not your mama, not your mentor, not your friends. No one is coming to lift you out of that pit of mediocrity. You've got to dig your own way out with your hands, your mind, and most importantly, your faith. Radical responsibility means taking full and complete ownership of your life. Every outcome, every decision, every setback, and every victory. It's not about assigning blame to your parents, your boss, the economy, or even your past. It's about recognizing that no matter what happened to you, the next move is yours. This is not a mindset the world teaches, but it's the only mindset that will free you. Because as long as you believe someone else holds the keys to your destiny, you will live in mental slavery, waiting for a release that will never come. When you embrace radical responsibility, you stop looking outward and start looking inward. You no longer say, why is this happening to me? But instead you ask, what can I learn from this? And how can I grow? That shift alone will change your entire life. Because victims react, but leaders respond. Victims blame, but leaders build. The moment you stop reacting and start responding is the moment you step into your power. Taking ownership means you stop hiding behind excuses that sound logical but are spiritually lethal. I don't have time. I didn't get the support I needed. They don't believe in me. All of that may be true, but none of it is relevant to your assignment. Excuses are chains wrapped in good reasoning, but responsibility breaks chains. It says, I'll find a way, or I'll make one. Radical responsibility doesn't ask for permission to grow. It doesn't wait for a supportive environment or ideal conditions. It doesn't need everyone's approval. It understands that elevation requires separation. And if you have to walk alone for a season in order to walk in purpose for a lifetime, so be it. Responsibility sees loneliness not as a curse, but as a season of refinement. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. This mindset also eliminates entitlement. You stop expecting rewards for average effort. You no longer believe success is owed to you. You realize you get what you work for, not what you wish for. Radical responsibility confronts the part of you that wants results without sacrifice. It calls you to put your emotions aside and do the hard things, even when they're uncomfortable. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't flinch in the face of difficulty. It's easy to blame circumstances. It's easy to say, I grew up in poverty or I didn't have the resources. But here's the truth. Many people grew up broke and still became millionaires. Many people were counted out and still changed the game. Your past might explain you, but it does not excuse you. You are not responsible for the hand you were dealt, but you are responsible for how you play it. Radical responsibility requires brutal honesty with yourself. You have to stop sugarcoating your own behavior. If you're procrastinating, call it out. If you're playing small, confront it. If you're lying to yourself about your discipline, face it. You can't heal what you hide, and you can't change what you won't confront. Owning your flaws doesn't make you weak. It gives you power to improve. When you live from this mindset, you stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. Because motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. But responsibility builds a system. You wake up and do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. That's the difference between dabblers and dominators. Dabblers wait to feel like it. There will be days when you want to quit, days when the pressure feels unbearable, days when it seems like no one understands what you're going through. But when you live with radical responsibility, you don't quit on your calling. You might cry, you might rest, but you don't give up because you know the cost of giving up is far greater than the pain of pressing forward. You begin to see adversity differently. Problems aren't punishments, they're preparation. Obstacles aren't roadblocks, They're opportunities for mastery. You stop asking for an easier life and start asking for more capacity. You don't shrink to match your environment. You rise to match your assignment. Radical responsibility empowers you to lead yourself before you lead others. It forces you to set standards, not just goals. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you require of yourself. If your standards are low, your results will be too. But when your standards rise, everything around you has to elevate. Your habits, your conversations, your boundaries, your environment. You stop tolerating the unnecessary. You stop hanging around energy-draining people. You stop engaging in self-sabotage. You stop over-explaining your dreams to people who aren't qualified to understand them. Because when you take responsibility for your life, you become protective of your peace. You understand that peace is not passive, it's guarded. Responsibility teaches you to be resourceful. If you don't know how, you learn. If you don't have it, you create it. If no one opens a door, you build one. And if you fail, you try again with more wisdom. You no longer need to be rescued. You become the rescuer of your own dreams. That shift alone is freedom. You also begin to see the difference between being busy and being effective. You stop glorifying hustle and start prioritizing results. You track your actions, not your intentions. You measure progress, not just passion. Because responsibility is not about working harder, it's about working smarter with focus, faith, and consistency. When others complain, you create. When others delay, you decide. When others retreat, you rise. Because you've learned that movement creates momentum. And momentum is a force that turns possibility into reality. But it only comes when you take the first step, no matter how uncertain or uncomfortable it feels. You'll start to attract people who also walk in responsibility. People who challenge you, not coddle you. People who hold you accountable, not enable your excuses. Because responsibility sharpens your vision and attracts alignment. You no longer fit in with those who settle. You stand out with those who stretch. And there's no room for ego in radical responsibility. You're not too big to ask for help, and you're not too small to take a step. You learn to be humble enough to grow and confident enough to act. You realize growth requires both grace and grit. It's not either / or, it's both / and. That balance becomes your superpower. And even when the results don't come right away, you don't fold. Harvest takes time. Seeds don't bloom overnight. But with responsibility comes patience, and with patience comes the reward. Because what you build through responsibility lasts. It's not built on hype, emotion, or luck. It's built on purpose, discipline, and trust in the process. Faith requires movement. It is not a theory, a concept, or a feeling. It is a force that demands action. Too many people talk about faith as if it's something you simply hold in your heart or speak with your mouth, but real faith lives in your feet. Real faith shows up not when you sit and wait, but when you rise and walk. It is not passive belief. It is aggressive obedience. You don't prove faith by what you say. You prove it by what you do when nothing looks certain, when the path isn't clear, and when the outcome isn't guaranteed. You can't say you trust God and sit still. You can't claim to believe in your calling and yet avoid every opportunity to grow. If you really believe, you move. If you really trust, you take the next step. Faith without movement is fiction. It sounds good, but produces nothing. God does not reward thoughts. He rewards steps. It's not your intention that shifts your life. It's your action. The moment you start walking, even if you don't have it all figured out, heaven starts aligning things in your favor. So many people pray for open doors, but when the door opens, they hesitate. They ask for favor, but run from responsibility. They want miracles, but won't obey instructions. But faith means going even when you don't have all the money, even when you don't know all the people, even when you're scared. Faith doesn't wait for perfect peace. Faith steps through pressure with purpose. The storm doesn't cancel your faith, it confirms it. You don't need to see the finish line to start running. You just need enough boldness to take the first step. Faith is uncomfortable. It calls you to stretch, to sacrifice, to move beyond your convenience. If it feels too safe, it's not faith. If it's easy to explain, it's not faith. Faith leads you into places where logic can't go. It takes you past your education, past your experience, past your fears. It forces you to lean on God and not your own understanding. You start building before you see blueprints. You start walking before you see the road. That's where faith lives, in motion, not meditation. Too many people are spiritual in theory, but stuck in reality. They sing about mountains moving, but won't move themselves. They quote scriptures, but won't apply discipline. They cry out to God, but ignore his nudges. You don't need another prophecy, you need to move. You don't need a louder confirmation, you need stronger courage. The answer is not in another delay. The answer is in your next step. Obedience is the evidence of faith. You want God to bless what you're doing, then do something worth blessing. Remember, Peter didn't walk on water because he stayed in the boat. He walked on water because he stepped out in faith. The miracle was not in the water, it was in the walk. Faith is stepping onto what doesn't make sense because you trust the one who told you to move. That's why you can't explain your journey to everybody. They weren't there when God called you. They didn't hear what you heard. You owe it to your future not to stay still just because others are too scared to move. Faith requires that you act before the blessing comes. It's planting seeds before you see a harvest. It's building the ark before it rains. It's preparing for the wind before the door opens. You don't get to wait for the manifestation. You have to move like it's already yours. You speak it, you prepare for it, you walk like it's done. That kind of posture attracts divine acceleration because faith attracts the favor that waiting never will. Faith demands that you challenge your comfort. Your comfort zone is the enemy of your calling. Faith won't let you settle for safe. It pushes you into unfamiliar territory. It calls you to leave behind what's familiar to step into what's fruitful. And yes, it will be scary. But comfort is a liar. It tells you that staying still is smart. It tells you that risk is dangerous. But the most dangerous thing you can do is not move, because stagnation kills more dreams than failure ever will. Movement is proof that you believe what you say. You say you're called, show it. You say you're chosen, move like it. You say you're anointed, act like it. Don't let your words be louder than your walk. The world doesn't respond to declarations, it responds to demonstration. It's not the noise that matters, it's the motion. And your faith must be louder in movement than in mouth. Some of you are waiting for God to move, but God is waiting for you to move. He already spoke, he already confirmed, he already opened the door. The next move is yours. You want him to send the increase, show him the work. You want him to enlarge your territory, start walking the land, because the promise is activated by your obedience. It's not enough to believe you can have it. You have to behave like it's already yours. Faith doesn't eliminate fear, but it overrides it. You don't need to be fearless, you need to be obedient. You can move scared. You can move unsure. You can move with trembling hands. What matters is that you move. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that purpose is more important than fear. The more you move, the smaller fear becomes. And the more you act in faith, the stronger your spirit grows. Faith changes how you talk, how you walk, and how you show up. You stop speaking from your pain and start speaking from your promise. You stop walking in doubt and start walking in destiny. You show up not like someone hoping for a win, but like someone sent to win. You carry yourself with the authority of someone who knows God is backing them. Because once you move in faith, heaven moves with you. Movement isn't always big. Sometimes faith looks like a phone call. Sometimes it's showing up to the meeting. Sometimes it's posting the content. Sometimes it's applying for the license. Don't despise the small steps. Every giant leap started with a simple move. Faith isn't about flash, it's about follow through. What matters is that you're moving in the right direction, even if no one sees it yet. Your movement opens doors for miracles. It shifts your atmosphere. It unlocks favor. It attracts resources. It places you in divine alignment. But none of that happens while you wait on the sideline. You've got to be in motion. Destiny doesn't visit the couch. Purpose doesn't knock on the door of procrastination. You want to see overflow? Start overflowing with action. You want divine help? Show up ready to work. Don't worry if others don't understand your movement. Faith often looks foolish to the fearful. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be talked about. You'll be doubted. But if God told you to move, then you move. You don't owe them an explanation. You owe God your obedience. Because their opinion can't open doors. Their approval can't bring breakthrough. Only faith moves the hand of heaven. When you move in faith, you shift from hoping to expecting. You don't wonder if it's going to happen. You expect it to happen. You start preparing your life for the manifestation. You clear space. You make room. You sharpen your skills. You invest in your growth. That preparation is a declaration. I believe God is who he says he is, and he will do what he said he'll do. That's why movement is so powerful. It tells heaven, I trust you. It tells fear, you don't own me. It tells the enemy, you should have stopped me when I was doubting, because now I'm moving. Every time you take a step, you're declaring war on everything trying to keep you small. And that step becomes a seed that multiplies in ways you can't predict. So let the others wait. Let the others wonder. Let the others worry. But you move, you go, you act. Because you understand what they don't. Faith isn't a feeling. Faith is a force. And the proof of faith is always found in movement. You are already equipped. Everything you need to start, to grow, to elevate, and to overcome is already inside you. You were not sent to this earth empty. You were born with divine deposits, gifts, instincts, insights, talents, and a purpose that predates your problems. You don't have to chase after worthiness. You were created with it. The enemy's strategy isn't to steal your gift. He can't. His strategy is to convince you you don't have one. Because if he can get you to doubt what's in you, you'll never use it. The problem is never the absence of power, it's the lack of awareness. Most people are walking around carrying greatness, but living small because they never stop to recognize what they already have. You're asking for a miracle when you are the miracle. You're praying for a way out when God already gave you the tools to build your way through. You are not under-resourced, you are under-activated. The treasure is in you, but you've got to unlock it. You don't need another sign to begin. You don't need everyone's approval to launch. You don't need a crowd to validate your calling. God gave you what you need, not what they expect. Stop waiting for someone to come and confirm you. Stop searching for outside permission to move. If you are waiting for a voice from heaven, hear this. Your breath is proof that heaven already approved you. You are the one for the job. You were not made to be average. You were not designed to fit in or go unnoticed. You were built with intention and purpose. The fact that you survived everything you've been through is not a coincidence. It's evidence. There is a reason you're still standing. There is a reason the pressure didn't crush you. There is a reason the betrayal didn't break you, because you're equipped for more than you've allowed yourself to believe. Everything you've gone through has shaped you for what's coming. The pain, the setbacks, the silence, the struggle. All of it has trained your spirit and developed your discernment. What you thought was a delay was really a season of preparation. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. And the fact that you made it through means you have the strength, the insight, and the authority to lead in ways others can't. What you call not enough is more than enough when God breathes on it. Your voice may not sound like theirs, but it was never meant to. Your story may not look like theirs, but that's your superpower. You've been comparing your equipment to someone else's assignment, and it's keeping you stuck. You weren't called to copy, you were called to create. You weren't built to imitate, you were built to innovate. What's in you is original. You've already got the creativity to birth the idea. You've already got the resilience to keep pushing. You've already got the discernment to know when to pivot. You've already got the influence to lead. Stop downplaying what's in your hands. That gift you keep dismissing, that's your key. That passion that keeps waking you up at night, that's your purpose calling. You don't need more. You need to trust what you already have. Too often people get caught in the trap of endless preparation. They keep reading, researching, waiting, and wondering, never realizing they're ready now. You don't have to be perfect to start. You don't need all the answers. You don't need the full picture. You just need the courage to use what's in front of you. Action reveals ability. Movement reveals mastery. The only way to find out what you're capable of is to step out and try. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. The very fact that you feel drawn to something greater is proof that greater is still available to you. Your mistakes didn't cancel your purpose. Your detours didn't change your destination. What God put in you is not fragile. It's not seasonal. It's not dependent on trends. It's permanent, powerful, and persistent. Every time you doubted yourself, every time you questioned your worth, every time you looked in the mirror and saw less, you were believing a lie. You've been fed limitations that were never yours to carry. You were told you weren't enough, when in reality you were overqualified for the level you were living on. That's why you felt the discomfort. That's why you felt the pressure, because something greater inside of you was demanding to be activated. Stop waiting for things to calm down before you begin. You were made to thrive in chaos. You were built to rise in the middle of storms. The equipment God placed inside of you is not fragile. It's fire tested. It's proven. It's anointed. Don't waste time waiting for clarity when obedience will give you clarity. Don't waste energy waiting for peace when movement will produce peace. You've been equipped to go now. It's time to stop treating your gift like a hobby. You keep calling it a side thing when it was meant to be the main thing. You keep minimizing your calling to make other people comfortable. But you weren't sent here to be tolerated. You were sent to transform. And that transformation begins when you embrace what's already in you. You were never meant to hide in the background. You were built to lead. You don't need to be the most educated, the most followed, or the most connected. You just need to be the most committed to what's already in you. Commitment will outperform talent every time. God doesn't need the most polished. He needs the most faithful. When you commit to what's in you, the world has no choice but to make room for your gift. It's not about fame. It's about faithfulness. You don't have to beg for opportunities when you walk in your true power. You become the opportunity. Rooms will shift when you enter. Atmospheres will change when you speak, not because of hype, but because you finally recognized and respected what you carry. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is clarity about your identity. And when you understand your identity, you stop entertaining anything beneath your purpose. The enemy wants you to keep second guessing yourself because he knows what happens when you go all in. He knows the impact your gift can make. He knows the freedom you'll bring, the lives you'll shift, the systems you'll disrupt. That's why the attack was so personal. That's why the delays were so frustrating. Because he saw something in you before you saw it in yourself. But now you see it. And now it's time to walk in it. You are not waiting on power. You're waiting on permission. But permission has already been granted. God didn't put all this potential in you to tease you. He didn't give you this vision just to frustrate you. He equipped you for exactly what you've been called to do. And the evidence of that call is the fire in your belly that won't go away no matter how much you try to ignore it. The world is not waiting on someone else. It's waiting on you, your voice, your wisdom, your leadership, your creativity. Everything you've been through has been shaping you to carry this gift with strength and integrity. You are more capable than you realize, more prepared than you believe, more anointed than you've allowed yourself to admit. All you have to do now is use what's in your hand. Success is a decision, not an accident. It is not the result of luck, chance, or external circumstances falling into perfect alignment. It is born the moment you make an internal choice to rise, to commit, and to never return to the version of yourself that settles. Success begins where excuses end. It doesn't come to the most talented, the most connected, or the most resourced. It comes to those who make a decision and refuse to break it. Every breakthrough starts with a decision, not a wish, not a hope, a decision. A line in the sand where you say, no more playing small, no more waiting for someone to give me permission, no more procrastinating on the life I know I'm supposed to live. People who decide to succeed don't look for comfort, they look for challenge. They don't run from resistance, they rise through it because they understand that success doesn't visit the lazy or the lukewarm. The greatest shift in your life won't come from changing your environment, it will come from changing your mind. Until you decide to be successful, no strategy will save you. Until you decide that you're worth the investment, no coach, course, or conference will transform you. Success answers only to those who are fully committed. Half-hearted effort produces half-baked results. A made-up mind produces miracles. There are people with half your skill achieving twice your results because they made a decision and backed it with discipline. They stopped negotiating with distractions. They stopped asking for opinions. They stopped needing consensus. They didn't need more time. They needed more clarity. And once they decided, everything else started to move. Because life bends for those who show up with bold decisions and relentless consistency. You can pray all day, but if you don't decide to act, you'll stay in the same place. You can fast and declare, but until you decide to do the work, nothing changes. God doesn't respond to noise, he responds to movement. Heaven gets behind decisions. There's a reason the word decide comes from the Latin decidere, which means to cut off. When you truly decide, you cut off every other option. You don't leave room for quitting. You don't entertain failure as a final outcome. You move with a different kind of fire. Most people are stuck not because they lack opportunity, but because they refuse to make the decision that success requires. They're addicted to the middle ground, too afraid to fail, too comfortable to move. They want the prize without the price. They admire discipline from a distance, but never develop it. But the truth is, success is always inconvenient at first. It costs comfort. It demands effort. It requires sacrifice. And it will never come to those who wait for it to feel easy. The moment you decide, you become dangerous to every limitation that tried to hold you down. Decisions produce momentum, and momentum is more powerful than motivation. When you decide to succeed, you no longer rely on feelings to drive your day, you rely on standards. You don't have to feel ready to move. You don't have to feel strong to build. You just have to honor the decision you already made. Success is not a secret, it's a system. And systems respond to structure. You can't expect exceptional results from casual commitment. You can't manifest greatness with inconsistent habits. Every successful person you admire got there not because of magic, but because of maintenance. They did the things they didn't want to do when they didn't feel like doing them. They mastered the mundane. They showed up when no one clapped. They pressed forward when no one noticed. You can't outsource your greatness. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to force you to succeed. It's on you. The earlier you accept that, the faster you rise. The moment you stop blaming your past, your parents, your problems, your pain, that's when power returns to your hands. Success is always a choice before it's a result. You can't receive what you haven't decided to pursue with full intensity. Most people don't lack ability, they lack decision. They're waiting for conditions to be perfect, for timing to feel right, for someone to believe in them first. But nothing shifts until you decide to take full responsibility for your outcome. Your future is not found in the hands of fate. It's forged by the choices you make daily. One decision backed by discipline can transform your entire trajectory. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when everything aligns effortlessly. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. The time to decide is always now. Your destiny doesn't start with applause, it starts with action. Even when no one is watching, even when you're doubting, even when the results aren't instant, the decision must come first. Success is not about talent, it's about tenacity. It's not about brilliance, it's about belief. The person who wins isn't always the smartest or the fastest. It's the one who refuses to quit, the one who keeps moving, the one who decides every day, I will not give up, I will not shrink, I will not surrender. That person is unstoppable, not because of what they have, but because of what they've decided. Your decision to succeed transforms how you speak, how you show up, how you structure your time. You stop wasting hours on distractions. You stop entertaining relationships that drain you. You stop tolerating environments that keep you small. Your decision forces a shift in everything around you. It becomes a filter. If it doesn't align with the life you've decided to build, it has to go. People might not understand your decision. They may call you obsessed. They may say you've changed. But success always requires a level of focus that looks like isolation. There will be seasons where your decision disconnects you. That's normal. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to break through. And breakthrough doesn't come with popularity. It comes with persistence. You don't decide once. You decide daily. When it's boring, when it's lonely, when it's frustrating, when it's not producing the results you hope for, that's when your decision gets tested. And that's when most people quit. But if you hold the decision long enough, the results will come. Not overnight, but over time. With consistency, commitment, and conviction. You've made enough excuses. You've waited long enough. The power to change your life has been in your hands the whole time. And the first step to unlocking it isn't more information. It's one decision, one unshakable, undeniable, all-in decision to be who you were always meant to be. Don't stop looking for easy. Embrace the process. We live in a world that markets shortcuts, hacks, and fast tracks to everything. But success doesn't respond to shortcuts. It responds to sacrifice. When you constantly search for the path of least resistance, you end up resisting the very path that could transform your life. The people who rise are the ones who lean into the process, not those who try to escape it. The process doesn't punish you, it prepares you. Everything great is forged in process. Gold is purified in fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Strength is developed under resistance. You don't build muscle by lifting light things. You build it by pushing against the heavy stuff. In the same way, your character, confidence, and capacity are developed when you walk through what others run from. The process is your proving ground. It's where you build the endurance to handle what you're asking for. When you chase ease, you rob yourself of elevation. Because what comes easy doesn't stay. What comes cheap doesn't last. And what doesn't stretch you won't strengthen you. You've got to be willing to stay in the process longer than it feels good, longer than it feels comfortable, longer than you feel motivated. Growth requires consistency, not convenience. If it were easy, everyone would have it. But most people want the results without the responsibility. The process is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the space where your mindset is sharpened, your faith is tested, and your capacity is expanded. It's where you learn how to carry weight with grace. Everyone wants the platform, but few are willing to go through the pressure required to sustain it. Everyone wants influence, but not everyone is ready for the discipline that comes with it. The process makes you ready. If God gave you everything you prayed for before you were processed, it would crush you. Not because you aren't worthy, but because you wouldn't be ready. The blessing without the process becomes a burden. It's the struggle that teaches you strategy. It's the delay that builds your discernment. It's the setback that gives you sight. The process isn't in the way, it is the way. Stop resenting where you are. Stop trying to rush past the uncomfortable stages. The stage you're in is shaping the version of you who can handle more. If you skip the struggle, you skip the strength. Every detour has a lesson. Every delay has a purpose. The process is the classroom where champions are trained. It is where you stop being dependent on motivation and start being led by conviction. Don't be so obsessed with the outcome that you disrespect the process. People want the crown, but they don't want the cross. They want the glory, but they resist the grind. But the real anointing isn't found in the spotlight. It's forged in silence. It's forged in private when no one is watching. and you're still showing up. When you're tired and you still say yes. When it's hard and you still move forward, that's where greatness is born. If you only commit when it's easy, you're not committed. You're convenient. And convenience has never created champions. The process is not designed to feel good. It's designed to build you. Each time you show up tired, stretched, or unsure and still do the work, you're proving to yourself that you are more than your feelings. That is how mental toughness is formed. Stop asking for it to get easier. Ask for the strength to endure. Because what breaks others won't break you when you've been processed properly. What shuts them down will elevate you when you've been developed in discipline. The process is where the difference between average and excellent is revealed. Anyone can start, but only those who embrace the process finish. It's tempting to compare yourself to others who look like they're further ahead, but comparison is deceptive. You don't know what they've been through. And even if they did get there faster, it doesn't mean they're built to stay. When you go through the process, you don't just get results. You get roots. And deep roots produce fruit that lasts. Surface success can be shaken, but process success is permanent. Every struggle is shaping something in you that comfort never could. Every failure is forging wisdom. Every rejection is refining your focus. Every challenge is chiseling your character. The process teaches you not just how to win, but how to sustain the win. Because it's not about a breakthrough moment, it's about a breakthrough mindset. One that says, no matter how long it takes, I'm built for this. Don't curse your process. Don't compare your process. Don't try to cheat your process. There are no shortcuts to maturity. There are no hacks to resilience. You've got to go through it. And as you do, you'll discover you're stronger than you thought, more capable than you imagined, and more prepared than you realized. The fire that was meant to consume you is actually the furnace that's refining you. You weren't built for easy, you were built for impact. And impact requires pressure. It requires patience. It requires process. The longer you endure, the more authority you carry. The more you suffer through, the more strategy you develop. You're not behind, you're being built. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. You're not forgotten, you're being formed. People want the promise, but avoid the process. But the promise is often hidden in the process. What you learn in the waiting seasons becomes the wisdom you carry in your winning seasons. If you can master the process, you'll outlast those who only mastered performance. If you can be faithful in obscurity, you'll have the strength to lead in visibility. The process will expose your limits so they can be expanded. It will stretch your faith so it can be solidified. It will test your patience so it can be purified. Every delay is training you. Every hardship is equipping you. Every lesson is loading you. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You've got to fall in love with doing the work no one claps for, the habits no one sees, the prayers no one hears, the decisions no one understands. That's where champions are built, not on stages, but in the silence of private surrender, not in front of audiences, but in the secret place of discipline. That's what separates the temporary from the timeless. Your future is hidden in your daily process. Success is not a mystery. It's a series of disciplined decisions stacked over time. The people who make it aren't more lucky, they're more locked in. They made a commitment to embrace the process, not escape it, and now their lives reflect the results of that commitment. You can have the same thing if you'll decide to stop running from the work